Welcome back to the American Dream. My next guest is Nina Bhanot. She's a top 20 RE/MAX realtor in Texas with RE/MAX Premier Group. Nina, thank you so much for being back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So Nina, right now we're in such an incredibly competitive market. We all know that across the country, I believe. But when buyers submit an offer, how do you ensure that their offer is the one that gets selected?
You know, it is tough because, right now the market we're in Dallas, it is a hot market, it is a competitive market, and it's more important than ever to really understand how to structure a winning offer and how we can make it easy for the seller to say yes to our offer. The first thing you want to do is you want to have a really competitive offer. And you want to be competitive on price, obviously, as much as you can be, but it's also really important to really be competitive and offer favorable terms for the seller. That's another way you can really ensure that your offer is going to be strong and attractive to the seller.
So you're saying favorable terms. What exactly do you mean by that?
So for example, if you look at the option period is usually about 7 to 10 days. If you can offer a 5-day option period or even shorter than that, that's something that's advantageous to the seller. Also offering a higher than normal option fee. When you are offering a high option fee, it shows the seller that you're more committed to making this transaction work. When you're working through repairs, when it comes inspection time, you're going to work through that because the buyer's not going to want to walk away from a substantial option fee. And also, another example of favorable terms would be having the buyer actually offer to pay for some of the closing costs for the seller. Usually that doesn't happen, so that's an excellent way to differentiate your offer.
Do you have any other tactics that have proven to be successful besides just pricing?
Yeah, I think, it's really important to understand what the needs of the seller are, and then how can we cater our offer to actually add value to them. So, for example, it may be that the sellers need a leaseback. A leaseback is when the seller has sold their house, but they still continue to live in there. So if that's something that's important to the seller, then we should write that in our offer and we should be able to accommodate that. I would say, lastly, the thing is that you want to understand, how do individuals make decisions? They use both sides of their brain, rational and emotional. So I recommend to my clients to really cater to that emotional side, speak to it, and we use different strategies to do that. One story that I can share with you is I was working with an elderly client. Her husband had passed away, and she was looking to move into the M Streets area, which is a more, historical part of town. The homes are older. We found this perfect property for her, but the issue was there were multiple offers on the table. A lot from investors who were paying cash and offering a whole lot of more money than us. But, I told her to write a letter to the seller and explain why she really loved the property. So she talked about, she wanted to move closer to her family. She wanted to have a house in that area, and she just really loved the character of the house. There's nothing she really wanted to change with it. So the good news is we ended up winning the offer. We did not have the highest price, but the sellers really wanted the house to go to somebody who loved it the way that it was. They didn't want it to go to an investor who was going to tear it down and rebuild. And the sellers actually asked my client if they would keep the tree in the front yard because they had planted it when their daughter was born, and she happily agreed to that. So, different touches like this really matter when you're putting an offer together.
Absolutely. How do you determine what is valuable to one client versus another? Is it really just those initial conversations and really listening on your end?
Yeah, it's important and key to have your agent call the listing agent and develop a relationship with them. Have them ask those important questions. What is important to the seller? Sometimes it may be, like I mentioned, a lease back. Sometimes it may be that they want a quicker close so they can have access to their net proceeds sooner. And sometimes it is all about price. When I'm working with my buyers, I'm constantly in touch with the listing agent. It's key to understand where you want to keep the focus. You want to keep the focus on value, not on price. It's like Warren Buffett says time and time again, price is what you pay, but value is what you get.
Oh, I love that. Nina, always great to have you on. You always have such fantastic words of wisdom to share with us and our viewers today. Thank you again for being on The American Dream. And we'll be right back with more of the show.